No sound is coming, Hare Krishna.
One minute, Mataji. I'm just shifting my place. Mataji, are you able to see my screen?
Yes, Prabhu.
Are you?
Yes, Prabhu, we are able to see.
You are able to see. Can you tell me if what you are seeing now, Mataji?
There is no text. We can see some background template here. Just now we were able to see, but right now it is only a template, I believe.
Okay. Whatever. Okay. That's good. Okay. Now you are able to see some picture, right?
Yes, yes.
Okay. That's good, Mataji. Okay. So, yeah, we'll start, Mataji. We'll start with our...
Oh, Mahesh Prabhu, Dandot Pranam Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Dandot Pranam, Prabhuji.
Prabhuji, if you can face towards the window, it will be clear, Prabhu. Right now it is like half sun, half moon.
Okay, 1 minute. Okay, I think this is much better, I believe.
Thank you, thank you.
ओम अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपा कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरौ श्रीयुतापदकमलं श्रीगुरोन् वैष्णवांश्च। श्रीरूपं साग्रजातां सहगणा रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजना सहितं कृष्ण चैतन्य देवं श्री राधा कृष्ण पदान् सहगणा ललिता श्री विशाखान्वितांश्च हे कृष्ण करुणा सिंधो दीनबंधो जगत्पते गोपेशा गोपिका कांता राधा कांता नमोस्तुते तप्त कांचना गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छा कल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधार श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंदा हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत्। नष्टप्रायेषु अभद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवती उत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी कृष्णाय वासुदेवाय देवकी नन्दनाय च नन्दगोपकुमाराय गोविन्दाय नमो नमः। नमः पंकजनाभाय नमः पंकजमालिने नमः पंकजनेत्राय नमस्ते पंकजांग्रहे नमो महावदन्याय नमो महावदन्याय कृष्ण प्रेम प्रदायते कृष्णाय कृष्ण चैतन्य नामिने गौरत्विषे नमः। नमो ब्राह्मण्याय देवाय गौ ब्राह्मणाहिताय च जगद्हिताय कृष्णाय गोविन्दाय नमो नमः। नमो विष्णुपदाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदांत स्वामिनिति नामिने नमस्ते सारस्वती देवी गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषा शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैता गदाधरा श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंदा हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। करोति वाचालं पंगं लंघयते गिरिं यत्कृपान्तं वन्दे श्रीगुरुं देवतारिणम् ईश्वरं परमानन्दमाधवम्। ओम पवित्रो पवित्रो वा सर्वावस्थां गतोऽपि वा यत्स्मरेत् पुण्डरीकाक्षं साध्याभ्यन्तरं सुचेत्। श्री विष्णु Okay, so Hare Krishna, Prabhuji and Mataji's Dandot Pranam. So just wanted to, just wanted to see, I think. Hare Krishna, Anandram Prabhu, Dandot Pranam. Hare Krishna, Dasraj Prabhu, Dandot Pranam.
Hare Krishna, Dandavat Pranam Prabhuji.
Dandot Pranam Prabhuji. Hare Krishna, Josna Mataji, Dandot Pranam.
Dandavat Pranam Prabhuji, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Madhavi Mataji, Dandot Pranam. Hare Krishna, Madhusudan Prabhuji, Dandot Pranam.
Dandavat Pranam Prabhuji.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna, Praveen Prabhuji and Pooja Mataji, Dandot Pranam.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam.
Hare Krishna, Raju Prabhuji, Dandot Pranam.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, Dandavat Pranam.
Hare Krishna, Ram Reddy Prabhuji, Dandot Pranam.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, Dandavat Pranam.
Hare Krishna, Sanjay Prabhuji, Dandot Pranam.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, Dandavat Pranam Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Santosh Aditya Prabhuji, Dandot Pranam. Hare Krishna, Sachadev Prabhuji, Dandot Pranam.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Hare Krishna, Subara Prabhuji, Dandot Pranam.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, Dandavat Pranam Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Mahesh Prabhu, Dandavat Pranam.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Hare Krishna Vanilla Mataji, Dandat Pranam.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, Dandavat Pranam.
Yeah, thank you very much for receiving Dandat Pranam from all the devotees. So once again, it's another Saturday, another Srimad Bhagavatam session with King Prithu Maharaj taking the center stage this week. I think last week it was ended by Subbarao Prabhuji on appearance of King Prithu Maharaj, and the glories of Prithu Maharaj were recited well by the bards or reciters, and the glories and praising was continuing in this chapter as well. So for the last 1 week and this week, probably in the next 2 weeks also, King Prithu Maharaj is going to take the center stage. So here is the small presentation which I prepared. Let me minimize this. Yeah. So today is Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, Chapter 16, which is about praise of King Prithu by the professional reciters, where his glories or in glorification of King Prithu, the reciters were continuing where they have left in the 15th session. So the quick agenda of today's session is 27 shlokas are there in this 16th chapter of 4th canto, and we will be doing a quick recap of 15th chapter, what was taken by Subbarao Prabhuji. So primarily the discussion happens on how King Prithu and Queen Archie appeared and were coronated, and the praises towards the King Prithu was done by various personalities before even displaying the qualities and activities. So there was a light discussion in the last session on how the praise have to be taken, and how King Prithu, gently rejects or gently tells that this gentle should offer praise to the Lord, and we too, and praise has to be taken as insult. How can a person allow his followers to praise him for his future qualities and activities? Such praise is simply cheating or an insult. But yes, that is an insult. But here reciters continue praising him, as everyone there knows that he's none other than Supreme Personality of Godhead. Shaktyavesha avatar of God has appeared here. So everyone was aware of it, and the praise continues. And after seeing King Prithu's comments that how can a person allow his followers to praise him before even displaying his qualities or activities, despite knowing he's great? So this praise should be considered as criticism, and saintly, modest and magnanimous persons don't like to have themselves praised. They consider it as a criticism. Right now, I'm not very famous for my personal activities. Therefore, how could I engage you in praising me in for these activities? That's what Prithu Maharaj says in the end of the 15th chapter. But after hearing to the praises and after seeing his humble gesture, reciters still get excited or still get ecstatic, and they continue their praisings. They didn't stop. So that's what is about 16th chapter. And again, the 16th chapter is divided into 5 sections. So there are these 5 sections include pleased by Prithu's humility. So further praisings continue. And section 2, Prithu upholds dharma and acts like demigods. That's what is mentioned in the praises, which is how he's going to perform his activities in the coming period. And third section deals with Prithu's actions compared with demigods. So how his activities are going to be, which are compared to demigods, and which demigods are considered in those shlokas are mentioned in the section 3. And the shloka 15 to 19, there are various qualities of King Prithu are highlighted in the shlokas 15 to 19. And shlokas 20 to 27, prediction of Prithu's future activities are mentioned in this section 5. So here is a quick recap of 15th chapter. What he says here. First one is, we have seen appearance of Prithu and Archie coming from dead body of Vena. That's what we have seen in the primary section or primary part of 15th chapter, and then how the King Prithu was coronated, and Prithu humbly dissuades the bards, just tries to stop the praises from his end, and that triggers further ecstatism among the reciters to go ahead with the further praises of King Prithu. That's what is being said. Now, in the further sections in the chapter 16, I have prepared slides in a way where what exactly is discussed in sections, in respective sections, and there is a small bit given how we can compare with our Kali Yuga, how it is happening, how the situation now it is in Kali Yuga, and how the situation was when the rule of King Prithu was there. So that's how it is. I have prepared the slides. So here in the first section we see, pleased by Prithu's humility, the bards continue praises, and among this among this, if we see, they continue, the reciters continue. Can anyone name what are the reciters' names who glorify King Prithu? Can anyone name who are the main reciters who are glorifying King Prithu? No problem, even if it is wrong, that's okay. Prabhuji, we know them as the reciters only, that's okay. But can you name who are the? Can you name at least one reciter name who are glorifying King Prithu? Anyone? No. Am I audible?
Yes, Prabhu, you are very much audible. Sorry, Prabhu.
So, okay. Can any guesses who are the main reciters who are glorifying King Prithu?
Don't remember, Prabhu.
Yeah. They are Sutta, Magadha, and Vandi. These are the three reciter names who were glorifying King Prithu after taking the instructions from the sages present there, who has confirmed that King Prithu is an expansion of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and they glorify him. So these are the main reciters who are glorifying King Prithu, and we need to understand that first section, whatever we talked about, they continue their praises on King, and the situation goes on. And here we need to understand, mainly there are 3 shlokas covered in the second section, first section, where Prabhupada very nicely explains how he further elaborates each and every shloka with the purports. Okay, so again, in each section I have selected only one shloka which I felt is important among the list of slokas in the interest of time. So in the first sloka, great sage Maitreya was continuing saying, while King Prithu thus spoke the humility of his nectarian speeches, pleased by the reciters very much, then again they continued to praise the king highly with exalted prayers, as they had been instructed by the great sages. So we need to understand that in this sloka, this Muni Choditaha is a word which gives instructions received from great sages and saintly persons. So we need to understand the importance of the saintly personalities across around us. So at that time, even king was considered as a supreme in the society, but always they used to follow the instructions of sages or the brahmanas. Although Maharaj Prithu was simply enthroned on the royal seat and was not at that time exhibiting his godly powers, the reciters, when all these reciters, they could understand this by instructions given by the sages, and further his glories were glorified by the reciters. So we need to understand that even the saintly personalities used to pay obeisances to kings. So they used to understand the position of the king. And even in the real-time scenario, if you take in the period of Narottam Das Thakur also used to insist Sadhu Shastra Guru, and one has to test all his, all spiritual matters according to instructions of saintly persons. Even Narottam Dasa states the same thing, that one has to test all spiritual masters according to the instructions of saintly persons, scriptures and spiritual masters, Sadhu, Shastra and Guru. So those are the statements made by the Shastras, and those made by the bona fide Sadhu or Guru cannot differ. And reciters continued to glorify King Prudu as he was the incarnation of personality of Godhead. So although he was King Prudu was so humble and delightful in his dealings with devotees, in this connection we may note that previously it was mentioned that King Prudu was smiling and was in a pleasant mood while speaking to the reciters. Thus we have to learn from the Lord or his incarnation how to become gentle and humble. So the king's behavior was very pleasing to the reciters, and consequently the reciters continued their praise, even foretold the king's future activities as they had been instructed by the sadhus and sages. So that's what is mentioned in this first sloka. And in the second sloka, which goes something like this: Nalam vayam te mahimanu varnane yo deva varyo vatatara mayaya venanga jatasya cha paurushani te vachas patinam api babramur diya. Can anyone read the translation here, please?
Hare Krishna Prabhupada. Should I?
Please, Mataji.
The reciters continued. Dear King, you are direct incarnation of Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Vishnu, and by his causeless mercy you have descended to this earth. Therefore, it is not possible for us to actually glorify your exalted activities. Although you have appeared through the body of King Vena, even great orators and speakers like Lord Brahma and other demigods cannot exactly describe the glorious activities of your Lordship. Hare Krishna.
Yeah. Thank you, Mataji. So here in this second chapter, the second sloka, it is very nicely mentioned about this word Maya. Even Prabhupada also mentions about the word. He further expands this word Maya, where it is very sensitive, or that word can be taken in another way also. So here in the purport, Srila Prabhupada mentions that Maya means by your causeless mercy. But Mayavadi philosophers explain the word Maya as meaning illusion or falseness. However, there is another meaning of Maya, that is causeless mercy. There are two kinds of Maya, that is Yoga Maya and Maha Maya. So Maha Maya is an expansion of Yoga Maya, and both these Mayas are different expressions of Lord's internal potencies. That's what he says. And another statement, Lord is a Siva Viranchi Nutam. Siva Viranchi Nutam is also specifically mentioned in the purport, where it is that statement, it gives a meaning that always worshipped by demigods like Lord Shiva and Lord Brahma. If the demigods cannot find adequate language to express the glories of the Lord, then what to speak of others? Consequently, reciters like the Shruta and Magadha felt inadequate to speak about King Prutha, the glories of the Lord, then what to speak of others? Yeah. So rather, as stated by Prahlad Maharaj, we need to take a point here that Prahlad Maharaj also gives the same point, that everyone should glorify the Lord according to his own ability. So the demigods like Lord Shiva and Brahma themselves could not glorify to the fullest capacity. What to speak of humans? So if we are serious and trying to be sincere devotees, then the Lord will give all the intelligence to offer prayers properly as well. So that's what we even see, right? When we are sincere, even Dhruva Maharaj, when he goes to forest for doing penance, and once Lord Vishnu appears, and once he keeps his hand on him, then he indirectly even gives the intelligence to glorify the Lord also. So we need to understand that part, that if demigods cannot find adequate language to express the glories of Lord, what to speak of others? Consequently, the reciters like Sutta Magadha felt inadequate to speak about King Prudu, but glorifying the Lord with exalted verses, one becomes purified. But how many people, how many of the current society, even who are trying to be in the path of spirituality or trying to be a devotee also sometimes don't have faith on glorification of the Lord or the greatness or power of the Lord or Lord's holy names. And though we might be saying, in the 10 offenses of the devotion, I mean, we should do attentive chanting. Despite doing lot of services, despite doing lot of services in various communities, we sometimes neglect, or there is a possibility of tendency of neglecting this chanting activity with no proper seriousness. No proper seriousness. Sometimes we chant while driving the car. Sometimes we chant doing some activity parallelly, doing this to save the time. So we should understand that we should glorify the Lord with exalted verses, and one becomes purified, and we should have complete faith on the holy names. Although we are unable to offer prayers to the Lord in an adequate fashion, our duty is to make attempt in order to purify ourselves. Our attempt should be there. He is a Bhavagrahi Janardana. So it is not that we should stop our glorification because demigods like Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva cannot adequately glorify the Lord. So as stated by Prahlad Maharaj, we should make every attempt to glorify him despite not being fully occupied. Sometimes I compare this with my kid Dhruv. He says I tell him to play mridanga. So sometimes I try to do the activity in my house myself. I try to, these days I'm trying to learn mridanga. What are the minimum beats? But his attitude is like, I should learn 100% mridanga, then I will play, which is not right. So I'm just trying to say that in whatever menial way we could glorify the Lord, we should glorify that. We should not stop glorifying the Lord by quoting a reason saying that Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva themselves could not glorify 100%. So we need to understand that statement. And even even in the so not possible to glorify, nonetheless we should glorify that. And even in the third shloka of this particular chapter, even it is mentioned, the Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, however one expert may be, he can never disturb the glories of Lord adequately. Nonetheless, those engaged in the glorifying the activities of Lord should try to do so as far as possible. Such an attempt will please the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So here is the statement. Lord Chaitanya has advised all his followers to go everywhere and preach the message of the Lord. Preach the message of the Lord Krishna. Since this message is essentially Bhagavad Gita, the preacher's duty is to study Bhagavad Gita as it is understood within the disciplinic succession and explained by the great sages and learned devotees. One should speak to the general populace in accordance with one's predecessors, Sadhu, Guru, and Shastra. This simple process is the easiest method by which one can glorify the Lord. So it's not that you individually have to chant. Even when you are talking to any Mataji or any devotee or any other member talking about Krishna, talking about devotion, if someone is asking, then you should give necessary information conducive to him, or encourage him or inspire him. Even that is also is nothing but glorification of the Lord itself. So this simple process is the easiest method by which one can glorify the Lord. So devotional service, however, is the real method by the devotional service, one can satisfy the Supreme Personality of Godhead with just few words. With just a few words. Haritoshanam, just few words. Rishikena, Rishikesha, Sevanam. So without devotional service, volumes of books cannot satisfy the Lord. Even though preachers of the Krishna conscious movement may be unable to disturb the glories of the Lord, they can nonetheless go everywhere and request people to chant Hare Krishna. So that's what is mentioned in this section 1. So everyone should glorify. But yeah. So coming to the next section, which is about Prithu upholding the dharma and acts like a demigods. Acts like a demigods. Here, Prithu as the upholder of dharma. There are again in this section we are having only 2 shlokas. I have selected, I should not say best and all the shloka are best, but more relevant, I felt, which I kept among the two shlokas is the fifth one. So in the fourth shloka, the King Maharaja Prithu is the best amongst those who are following religious principles. As such, he will engage everyone in the pursuit of religious principles and give those principles all protection. He will also be a great chastiser to the irreligious atheistic people. So here clearly it is mentioned, the duty of government head to see that people strictly follow a religious life. But we can see how religious or how dutiful are the government heads are currently. They are not worried about people following religious life. In fact, they themselves are not following the religious life or spiritual life. They themselves, what to speak of they overseeing the people to ensure that they are strictly following the religious life. They are not. So that's what is mentioned even in the purport of fourth sloka. In the name of secular government, the king or in the name of secular government, the king or government head remains neutral and allows people to engage in all sorts of religious activities. In such state, people cannot be happy despite all economic development. I quote, in such state, people cannot be happy despite all economic development, despite all IT industries, despite all sunrise apartments of 20 floors, 30 floors, 56 floors, 80 floors, and all. It clearly shows that in such state, people cannot be happy despite all economic development. So, however, in this age of Kali, there are no pious kings. Instead, rogues and thieves are elected to head the government. What a pitiful situation we are having, that we should choose people best among the worst. That is the situation in current society. We don't have any option, but we need to choose the best among the worst. So that's the situation. But how can the people be happy without religion and God consciousness? The rogues exact taxes from citizens for their own sense enjoyment, and in the future, the people will be so much harassed that according to Srimad Bhagavatam, now, Prithu will act like different demigods. Yeah. Now, in the so-called secular state, the executive branch of governments is in the charge of so-called kings and presidents who are all fools and rascals, ignorant of all intricacies of nature's causes and ignorant of the principles of sacrifices. Now, the question for everyone. What is expected from citizens when exacted with taxes by rogue governments in Kali Yuga as per Shastras? Can anyone say? What is expected from citizens? You can guess. What is expected from citizens when exacted with taxes by rogue governments in Kali Yuga as per Shastras? Not now, but in future. In future, when Kali Yuga, when you see Ghor Kali Yuga, when citizens are exacted with taxes by rogue governments as per Shastras, what will be the behavior of citizens?
It is said they will run to the jungles and live to evade the taxes, Prabhuji.
Yes, Prabhuji. Yes, you are right, Prabhuji. That's what is mentioned in purport also. And that is mentioned in Srimad Bhagavatam, that they will flee from their homes and country and take shelter in the forest. And even in our sessions, Lilananda Prabhu mentions, this is the golden period of Kali Yuga. Right now, we are in a golden period of Kali Yuga. Golden period don't mean that you are in Satyuga. Quote and unquote. When we say golden period, it means that at least people, if someone is trying to be devotional or someone is trying to be devotee, at least people will encourage, or at least people will welcome them. But when it is not in golden period of Kali Yuga, people will chase whoever talks about God, whoever tries to glorify the God or the Lord, Supreme Lord. They are chased to hit or kill by the people. That is the situation we are going to see in the future. Yes, already some people say, what did God do when Corona came? He didn't do. Scientists did, eradicating the Corona and all. So all these quotes are leading to Ghora Kali Yuga. That's what we need to understand. So in the fifth sloka, the last sloka in this section, which says, Esha vai loka palanam Bibarti ekas tanu tanuhu kale kale yadha bhagam lokayor ubayor hitam. Can someone read the translation for 5th shloka?
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Yeah.
Translation. This king alone in his own body will be able in due course of time to maintain all living entities and keep them in a pleasant condition by manifesting himself as different demigods to perform various departmental activities. Thus, he will maintain the upper planetary system by inducing the populace to perform Vedic sacrifices. In due course of time, he will also maintain this earthly planet by discharging proper rainfall. Hare Krishna.
Yeah, this is about the 5th sloka, what we have seen here. Now the same thing, 5th sloka, if we see the purport, also in the 5th sloka, you see the purport also, Srila Prabhupada highlights very nice things, the demigods in charge of the various departmental activities that maintain this world are but assistants to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. When an incarnation of Godhead descends to this planet, demigods like Sun God, Moon God, or King of Heaven, Indra, all join him. Consequently, the incarnation of Godhead is able to act for the departmental demigods to keep the planetary systems in order. The protection of earthly planet is dependent on the proper rainfall, and as stated in Bhagavad Gita and other scriptures, sacrifices are performed to please those demigods who are in charge of rainfall. Annad bhavanti bhutani parjanyad anna sambhavaha yajnad bhavati parjanyo yajnaha karma samudbhava. All living bodies subsist of food grains which are produced from rains. Rains are part of performance of yajna, and yajna is born of prescribed duties. Thus, the proper execution of yajna, sacrifice is required, as indicated herein. King Pruta alone would induce all the citizens to engage in such sacrificial activities, so that there would not be scarcity or distress. In Kali Yuga, again, in Kali Yuga, however, in the so-called secular state, the executive branch of government is in the charge of so-called kings and presidents, who are all fools and rascals, ignorant of intricacies of nature's causes and ignorance of principles of sacrifice. Such rascals simply make various plans which always fail, and the people subsequently suffer disturbances. To counteract this situation, Shastras advise Harer Nama, Harer Nama, Harer Namaiva Kevalam, Kalau Nasteva, Nastaiva, Nastaiva, Gatiranyata. Thus, in order to counteract this unfortunate situation in government, the general populace is advised to chant the Maha Mantra Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So that's what is being mentioned here in the second section, where so it's clearly mentioned. Sometimes even we think right. Last time I have asked a question when Chakrapani Prabhu has come to our Bhakti Center, where he was giving a discourse on is Mahabharata a myth or a history, and the proofs behind it. So 300 evidences. So that secular part, when we could relate the question. In fact, let me tell the question what I asked him. I was asking him that how come when the Mughals came, they were in minority, and we Indians, or we in Bharat, in our country Bharata, we were in majority number. How could that minority people take control of Bharat and completely spoiled or completely taken a ride of this country, this great country? I was asking this question. Now the same question, now if it is applicable, if we try to correlate here, the people at that time, they were more instead of being religious or spiritual, they are more person centric, and they could take the advantage of that. Even in our communities, in society we are living, if we take one particular community, we see, though in numbers, so so-called religion Hindu, we might be more in number, but but always the secular part comes into the picture, and always there are a lot of struggles happening to conduct a simple program of Janmashtami or Jagannath Radhyatra, kind of such a great festivals. Also, there is a lot of hard work is needed to convince the people, despite they coming from a rich lineage of Bharata and the culture, or so-called Hindu religion. So the statement clearly, whatever Prabhupada quotes here, in the so-called secular state, the executive branch of government is in the charge of so-called kings and presidents, who are all fools and rascals, ignorant of intricacies of nature's causes and ignorant of principles of sacrifice. They are most of them are more inclined to the post they are holding, the advantage they are taking. They wanted to be glorified themselves. Recently, I went to one community where they have invited Skyla community, and there also, he was giving me instructions. The person who has invited me, he was telling, in the end, please tell my name, that I invited you. I invited you. So yeah, I in fact quoted that I, with the great endeavor of Mr. XXX, we have come here, so that he has some praises, and later he can be known in the community for conducting such spiritual sessions. So no one is actually interested in God consciousness, or rather they are not understanding the real problems of the life. So that's what is being highlighted about the kings in the purport by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada. Okay, so now going to the next section, which is about Pruthu's actions compared with demigods. So again, Pruthu's actions were compared with the demigod. Again, this particular section has almost 8 to 9 slokas covered. 8 to 9 slokas covered. But best among this, lot, I could say, is the 10th sloka. But in brief, in this 10th sloka, or in the section 3, it is clearly highlighted that the part of tax exaction, which actually was not meant for which is not meant for not meant for the sense gratification of the so-called administrative heads, unlike how it is happening now. So the process of tax exaction is very nicely explained in this verse of 6th sloka, where it says that the king Pruthu will be as powerful as the sun god. So what are the predictions they are seeing? These bards are telling, about how the Pruthu's actions are compared with the demigods. So the king Pruthu will be as powerful as the sun god, and just as the sun god equally distributes his sunshine to everyone, King Pruthu will distribute his mercy equally. Similarly, just as the sun god evaporates water for 8 months and during the rainy seasons returns it profusely, this king will also exact taxes from the citizens and return these monies in times of need. So here again, wonderfully, Prabhupada explains the process of tax exaction is very nicely explained in this verse, where it is not meant for sense gratification of the so-called administrative heads. So-called administrative heads. The kings and heads. So the tax revenue system, should be distributed to the citizens in the time of need during the emergencies such as famine or food. Tax revenue should never be distributed amongst governmental servants in the form of high salaries and various other allowances. In Kali Yuga, however, the position of citizens is very horrible, because taxes are exacted in so many forms and are spent for the personal comforts of the administrators. And even the administrators, they never take the advice. They will never take the advice of or very minimum number of times they take advice of the Brahmanas. They never take advice of Brahmanas or the learned people or the people or the devotees in Sampradaya. It was very nice to see the letter yesterday was posted by one Prabhuji on Gaurang Prabhu become nominated as one of the committee members in Bhakti Peetam one organization, I believe, which is a part of Shankaracharya lineage. So, devotees are to be taken into consideration in major state decisions, but they are not. So that's what we see in Kali Yuga. So tax revenue should never be distributed amongst governmental servants in the form of high salaries and various other allowances. In Kali Yuga, however, the position of the citizens is very horrible because taxes are exacted in so many forms and are spent for personal comforts of the administrators. So example of sun is in this verse is very appropriate, that sun is many millions miles away from the earth, and although the sun does not actually touch the earth, it manages to distribute land all over the planet by exacting water from the oceans and seas, and it also manages to make the land fertile by distributing water during the rainy seasons. As an ideal king, King Prithu would execute all the business in the village and state as expertly as the sun, despite being far away. So Surya, Bhumi, Indra. Okay, so that's what is being said in the 6th one. And 7th one, it says this King Prithu will be very, very kind to all citizens. Even though a poor person may trample over the king's head by violating the rules and regulations, the king, out of his causeless mercy, will be forgetful and forgiving as a protector of the world. He will be as tolerant as the earth itself. So, earth itself. So King Prithu is herein compared to the earthly planet as far as tolerance is concerned. Because see, why it is compared with earthly planets? Because even on earth, we, men and animals, is trampled upon on this earth, it still gives food to them by producing grains and fruits and vegetables. As an ideal king, Maharaja Prithu is also compared to earthly planet, for even though some citizens might violate the rules and regulations of the state, he would still be tolerant and maintain them with fruits and grains. In other words, it is the duty of the king to look after the comfort of the citizens, even at the cost of his own personal convenience. This is not the case, however, in Kali Yuga. For in Kali Yuga, the king and heads of the state enjoy life at the cost of taxes exacted from citizens. Such unfair taxation makes people dishonest, and people try to hide their income in so many ways. So, all this dishonesty and everything creeps in. So this is not the we could see that, and this is not the case, however, in Kali Yuga. For in Kali Yuga, yeah, that's right. So eventually the state will not be able to collect taxes, and consequently will not be able to meet its huge military and administrative expenses. Everything will collapse, and there will be chaos and disturbance all over the state. That's what he said in 7th. So similarly, in the 8th, where there is no rainfall and the citizens are in great danger due to scarcity of water, this royal personality of Godhead will be able to supply rains exactly like the heavenly King Indra. Thus, he will be very easily be able to protect the citizens from drought. So, King Prithu is very appropriately compared to the sun and demigod Indra. King Indra of the heavenly planet is in the charge of distributing water over the king. Sometimes the king of heaven, Indra, would angry and at the inhabitants of earth if they did not offer sacrifice to appease him. King Prithu, however, being an incarnation of Supreme Personality of Godhead, did not depend on the mercy of heavenly king. It is foretold herein that if there was a scarcity of King Prithu would manage to counteract the deficiency by virtue of his godly powers. Such powers were also exhibited by Lord Krishna, that we have seen even in the Govardhan pastime. So even in the 9th shloka, King Prithu Maharaj, by virtue of his affectionate glances and beautiful moon-like face, which is always smiling with great affection for the citizens, will enhance everyone's peaceful life. That's the charishma what he carries. That's what he carries. And even the 10th shloka, if you see, Avyakta Vartamaisha Niguddha Karyo Gambhira Vedha Upagupta Vittaha Ananta Mahatmya Gunaika Dhama Prudha Pracheta Eva Samvritatma. Can someone read the translation here, please? Translation of this 10th sloka. Can someone read? Yeah.
The reciters continued. No one will be able to understand the policies the king will follow. His activities will also be very confidential, and it will not be possible for anyone to know how he will make every activity successful. His treasury will always remain unknown to everyone. He will be the reservoir of unlimited glories and good qualities, and his position will be maintained and covered just as Varuna, the deity of seas, is covered all around by water.
Yes.
Hare Krishna.
Actually, sometimes when we all see this, we might be, in surprise. Can someone be like that? Had really been Bharat in such a situation where king was that idol? because we are currently we are not seeing the kinds of leaders what we have. Always there is a possibility to creep this doubt in our minds that was it really happening that way? Was it really that kind of period was there where king was ruling the entire world and he was successful in each and every activity? We really surprised. The last king who could do like that was none other than our Parikshit Maharaj, our Parikshit Maharaj. But this is true, Prabhujis and Matajis, since it is coming in the parampara, and all our acharyas say the same thing. And the purport says in this here is there is a predominant deity for all the material elements, Varuna and Pracheta. So like that he was compared, and yeah. Can someone tell who is the preceding deity of sea and oceans?
Varuna.
Are you sure, Mataji?
I think so.
Please, can someone tell who is the preceding deity of sea and oceans? No? Yes, Vanilla Mataji, you are right. Since you are having doubt, I try to further confuse you. You are right, Mataji. Varuna, Lord Varuna is the preceding deity of seas and oceans. So from outward appearance, the seas and oceans are devoid of life, but a person acquainted with the sea knows that within the water exists many varieties of life. The king of that underwater kingdom is Varuna. Just as no one can understand what is going on beneath the sea, no one could understand what policy King Prudu was following to make everything successful. Indeed, King Prudu's path was diplomacy was very grave. His success was made possible because he was a reservoir of unlimited glorified qualities. The word Upagupta Vittaha. So here in the shloka, this word Upagupta Vitta is very significant in this verse. It indicates that no one would know the extent of the riches King Prutu would confidentially keep. The idea is that not only the king, but everyone should keep his hard-earned money confidentially and secretly, so that in due course of time, the money can be spent for the good and practical purposes. In Kali Yuga, however, the king or government has no well-protected treasury, and the only means of circulation is currency notes made of paper. Thus, in times of distress, the government artificially inflates the currency by simply printing papers, and this artificially raises the price of commodities, and the general condition of the citizens becomes very precarious. Thus, keeping one's money very secretly is an old practice, for we find this practice present even during the reign of Maharaja Prutu. Just as the king has the right to keep his treasury confidential and secret, the people should also keep their individual earnings secret. There is no fault in such dealings. The main point is that everyone should be trained in the system of Varnashrama Dharma, so that the money is spent only for good causes and nothing else. That's what. Murli Prabhu, can you go on mute, please? Thank you. So, so the duty of ruler is mentioned nicely here, and how we need to do and how the people have to behave. So subsequently, in the next slokas, as I said, they are each and his activity are compared to demigods. Born of the dead body of King Vena as fire is produced from Arani wood. Thus, King Prudu will always remain just like a fire, as his enemies will not be able to approach him. Indeed, he will be unbearable to his enemies, for all those staying very near him never be able to approach him, but he will have to remain as if far away. No one will be able to overcome the strength of King Prudu. Arani wood is a kind of a fuel used to ignite fire by friction. At the time of performing sacrifice, one can ignite a fire from Arani wood. Although born of his dead father, King Prutu would still remain just like a fire. Just as fire is not easily approached, King Prutu would be unapproachable by his enemies, even though they appear to be very near to him. So King Prutu will be able to see all the internal and external activities of every one of his citizens. Still, no one will be able to know his system of espionage, and he himself will remain neutral regarding all matters of glorification and vilification paid to him. He will be exactly like air, the life force within the body, which is exhibited internally and externally, but is always neutral to all affairs. Okay, so now, and further he says, Since this king will always remain on path of piety, he will be neutral to both his son and the son of his enemy. If the son of his enemy is not punishable, he will not punish him. But if his own son is punishable, he will immediately punish him. These are the characteristics of impartial ruler. It is the duty of ruler to punish the criminal and give protection to the innocent. King Prithu was so neutral that if his own son was punishable, he would not hesitate to punish him. On the other hand, if the son of his enemy were innocent, he would not engage in some intrigue in order to punish him. Actually, I was interested when though King Prithu was his qualities were mentioned here, and he was this quotation like, if the son of his enemy is not punishable, he will not punish him. But if his own son is punishable, he would punish him. Can anyone tell any pastime conveying this point? Any one of you remember? The statement what is quoted in this shloka or in this 13th shloka of this chapter, where it is said that if the son of his enemy is not punishable, he will not punish him. But if his own son is punishable, he will immediately punish him. Anyone remember any pastime of King Prithu highlighting this point? Anyone? No? Yes or no?
Can you please repeat the question once?
Yeah, I repeat the question. So 13th shloka says that King Prithu, actually, if the son of King Prithu's enemy is not punishable, he will not punish him. But if King Prithu's own son is punishable, he will immediately punish him. Such was the transparency he shows. So, is there any pastime where this particular statement is reflected?
Hare Krishna. Prabhu, like Krishna punishing Bhaumasura, he's his own son. Bhaumasura is his own son, but he committed many sinful activities, so he killed.
Okay, yeah, that is in the Inca. I mean, even Krishna appeared here, Mataji, but I was more specific to King Prithu. Yes, you are right when telling about the Krishna's pastime, but in the during the period of King Prithu, during his period when he was there here, was there any pastime of King Prithu where he has punished his son? Anyway, actually, to be frank with you, I also was not knowing the answer, so I was asking here if any devotees here in our group knows it. So that's about a quality of King Prithu. So now the last shloka in this section is talking about, just as the sun god expands his shining rays up to the Arctic region without impedance, the influence of King Prithu will cover all tracts of land up to the Arctic region and will remain undisturbed as long as he lives. Although the Arctic region is not visible to ordinary persons, the sun shines there without impediment. Just as no one can check the sunshine from spreading all over the universe, no one could check the influence and reign of King Prithu, which would remain undisturbed as long as he lived. The conclusion is that the sunshine and the sun god cannot be separated, nor could King Prithu, his ruling strength, be separated. So his rule everywhere would continue without disturbance. Thus the king king was ruling nicely. So now coming to the next section, that is about various qualities of King Prithu. So here the various qualities of King Prithu is being talked about, like fixed in his woes, and we have 15 through 19 shlokas here. So yeah, in the 15 through 19 shlokas, we need to understand that in the 15th sloka, when he still further bards go ahead and say that this king will please everyone by his practical activities, and all of his citizens will remain very satisfied. Because of this, citizens will take great satisfaction in accepting him as the ruler of the world. And here in the next sloka, that is 16th sloka, there is a word by name Vruddha Sevaka. The king will be firmly determined and always situated in truth. He will be lover of Brahminical culture and will render all services to old men and give shelter to all surrender souls. Giving respect to all, he would be always merciful to the poor and innocent. The word Vruddha Sevaka, Vruddha means old men. There are two kinds of old men. There are two kinds of old men. Can anyone say what are the two kinds of old men? Vruddha Sevaka means serving the old. But there are two kinds of Vruddhas. Can anyone guess what are the two kinds of Vruddhas? What is the meaning of Vruddha?
Old.
Old. Yeah. Vruddha Sevaka means?
Experienced Sevaka is one thing.
Yeah.
Varishta Vaishnava serving is one thing.
Yeah. So here, Srila Prabhupada mentions there are two kinds of old men. One is old by age. That's what usually we perceive. And there is another Vruddha that is old by knowledge. So here is a understanding how we need to understand Vruddha Sevaka means there are two kinds of people who are old by age and old by knowledge. So this Sanskrit word indicates that one can be older by advancement of knowledge also. So King Prithu was very respectful to the Brahmanas and he protected them. He also protected persons advanced in age also. Whatever the kind would decide, whatever the king would decide to do, no one would be able to stop. That is called Drudha Sankalpa or Drudha Vrata. That's what we need to understand. You know, here, when if we compare with our current trend, the so-called state should always serve the devotees of the Lord, and the ideal state should conduct itself according to the instructions of the devotee. But current situation, you know, whenever old, especially I have observed this in our villages, you know, once a person becomes old, and once he is bedridden, no way possible to move, most of the situations in villages I have seen, they leave him to die. I personally observed, or one case I have seen in my village where one old personality, he got bedridden, and his son, he was having three sons. Two sons were working in towns, and one son was in village, and he was taking care of his father. And those two sons who were there in cities, Markapuram and Karnool, they told this third brother to take care of their dad, and whatever the portion of some property is there for allotted for these two sons who are living in city, they gave some portion of their property to this third son to take care of their father. And after getting the property from those two sons, once their father got bedridden and nowhere in a situation to move, he left him unattended, without giving food, without giving any bath or anything. He left him for almost 9 to 10 days, and he died. And my father, who was a retired deputy superintendent of police, he went to attend the cremation ceremony. And when the body is being bathed after the soul leaves, when he was given a ceremonial bath, and in that bath, you know, near the genitals, all the skin or flesh was eaten by insects when the bath was going on. And by the time he was seen, after the formalities are over, Anchakriya and all were over, my dad chastised all the three brothers. You being in police department, and you being an employee, and you three being sons of this guy, I know how much he struggled to raise you up, and the kind of treatment you are given, you will be doomed. So like that, he kind of sharpam he has given. Because the police, you know, police department, at least other people outside police department, they can keep silent by seeing something wrong when we are not in a situation to correct the things. They can keep silent and they can feel inside and probably pray. But being in police department, my dad is not silent. He is very vocal in this kind of things, and he has chastised those three brothers. So that is the situation how currently it's happening in villages. Whenever a person becomes old, they simply wait him to die as early as possible. So state should always serve the devotees of the Lord, and the ideal state should conduct itself according to the instructions of the devotee. That's what is being said here. So also it is being mentioned in further shloka that the king will respect all women as if they were his own mothers, and he will treat his own wife as the other half of the body. He will be just like an affectionate father to his citizens, and he will treat himself as the most obedient. So 18th one, the king will consider all embodied living entities as dear as his own self, and he will always be increasing the pleasure of his friends. He will intimately associate with the liberated persons, and he will be chastising. He will be a chastising hand to the all impious persons. So that's what, treating other women as his own. Now, can anyone say, now this is the 19th sloka, which is prominent in this section. And this sloka goes something like this. Ayum tu sakshat bhagwan stri adhisha kutastha atma kalaya vatirnaha yasmin avidya rachitam nirardhakam pashyanti nanatvam api pratitam. Can anyone read the translation here, please?
I can read from translation. This king is the master of the three worlds, and he is directly empowered by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He is without change, and he is an incarnation of the Supreme, known as the Shaktavesha Avatara. Being a liberated soul and completely learned, he sees all material varieties as meaningless because their basic principle is nescience.
Yeah. So yeah, this is the meaning, and here we need to understand. Can anyone give the difference between Nitya Mukta and Nitya Baddha? What is the difference between Nitya Mukta and Nitya Baddha?
Nitya Mukta.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Raghunandan Prabhu, 1 minute, Prabhu. Let us give opportunity for other devotees also. Sorry, Prabhu.
Yes, Prabhu.
Yes, Prabhu. Please.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Yeah.
Eternally liberated, eternally conditioned.
Yes, Prabhu. Perfect. What perfect answer from Giriraj Prabhu. Hope to see you in next 2 days, Prabhuji. Yeah. So the thing is, the word here we need to understand the translation. The king is the master of the three worlds, and he is directly.
You are coming?
Prabhuji?
Yes, Prabhuji.
17th.
17th starting, 19th Wednesday, I'll be in Hyderabad, Prabhuji, afternoon.
Sorry to interrupt. Prabhuji, thank you to know. I'm very happy to know that. So Nitya Mukta is coming to relieve Nitya Baddhas.
Yeah.
Too much, this is too much. Nitya Baddha, Prabhu. Haribol.
Yeah. Probably now Giriraj Prabhu might be saying Nitya Baddha is coming to take association of Nitya Mukta.
That's true. Yes, super. Masveter. Yes.
So that's a wonderful explanation given in this shloka, wherein King Prithu, he is without change. He is an incarnation of Supreme, known as Shaktavesa Avatar. Being a liberated soul and completely learned, he sees all the material varieties as meaningless because their basic principle is nescience. So here we need to understand the reciters of these prayers are describing the transcendental qualities of Prithu Maharaj, and these qualities are summarized in the words Sakshat Bhagavan. This indicates that Maharaj Prithu is directly the Supreme Personality of Godhead and therefore possesses unlimited good qualities. Being an incarnation of Supreme Personality of Godhead, Maharaja Prithu could not be equaled in his excellent qualities. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is fully equipped with 6 kinds of opulence, and we know what are those opulence. And King Prithu was also empowered in such a way that he could display the 6 opulences of the Supreme Personality of Godhead in full. So the word kutastha, meaning without change, is also very significant here. Without change. So that's what is being described here. And also the living entity who is Nityabaddha, as it is said, eternally conditioned. One may dress in different ways, but a really learned man does not take dresses into consideration. As stated in Bhagavad Gita, Vidya Vinaya Sampanne Brahmane Gavi Hastini Sunichaiva Swapake Cha Pandita Samadarshina. The humble sage, by virtue of true knowledge, sees with the equal vision a learned and gentle Brahmana, a cow, an elephant, a dog eater. Thus, the learned man does not look upon the dresses that externally cover the living entity, but see the pure soul within the varieties of dress, and knows very well that the varieties of dresses are creation of nescience. So, Prithu Maharaj did not change his spiritual position, and consequently, there was no possibility of his viewing the material world. So King was always, King was always associating with the liberated persons. So, but now we don't associate with our kings or our great society leaders. They will not associate with liberated persons. They will try to associate with CEOs, COOs, businessmen, celebrities, to get more name and fame. Okay, that's the situation. They are not much inclined, and even sometimes they associated with the liberated persons also, but with a wrong intention, not to propagate the knowledge of spirituality or knowledge of great sampradaya, but to get a mileage, that I am associated with Sri Chinnajir Swamiji. I'm associated with this Maharaj, this Sannyasi Maharaj, and all. They will try to get associated with, but with a wrong intention. So, coming to the last section, which is about prediction of Prudu's future activities. So, here in the prediction of future Prudu's activities, we need to understand, like, there are 20 to 27th slokas are related to this, where it is compared with different there are women also glorifying, apart from the reciters who are glorifying King Prithu, there were women also who glorified Prithu in 4 of the verses in 20th to 27th. So in here, among the 20th to 27th slokas, 20th sloka is more relevant or more striking. So here, can 20th sloka says, Aham ayam bhuvo mandalam odayadrer goptaika viro naradeva nadha asthaya jaitram radham atta chapaha paryasyate dakshinato yadharkaha. So this, can someone read the translation, please, for 20th sloka? Can someone read?
Krishna Prabhuji, shall I read?
Yeah, please, Padma Madhavi, please.
This king, being uniquely powerful and heroic, will have no competitor. He will travel around the globe on his victorious chariot, holding his invincible bow in his hand and appearing exactly like the sun, which rotates in its own orbit from the sun.
Yeah. Yeah. So here in 20th sloka, in this verse, the word yadharkaha indicates the sun is not fixed, but it is rotating in orbit. And okay, can anyone guess what is the speed with which sun rotates? Can anyone tell in which speed does sun rotate? Any wild guess? Actually, Srimad Bhagavatam 5th canto explains it. Of course, we are not reached 5th canto yet, but it is explained there. Any guesses? What is the speed with which sun rotates in its own orbit? Okay, it rotates with 16,000 miles per second. 16,000 miles per second. So in this verse, so it is stated that sun rotates. So even similarly in Brahma Samhita also it is said that Yasya Jnaya Brahmati Sambrata Kala Chakraha. The sun rotates in its own orbit according to the order of Supreme Personality of Godhead. The conclusion is that the sun is not fixed in one place. As far as Prithu Maharaj is concerned, it is indicated that his ruling power would extend all over the world. The Himalaya mountains from which the sunrise is first seen are called Udayachala or Udayadri. It is herein indicated that Prithu Maharaj's reign over the world would cover even the Himalaya mountain and extend to the borders of all oceans and seas. In other words, his reign would cover the entire planet. Another significant word in this verse is Naradeva. As described in previous verses, the qualified king, be he King Prithu or any other king who rules over the state as an ideal king, should be understood to be God in human form. According to Vedic scriptures, Vedic culture, the king is honored as the supreme personality of Godhead because he represents Narayana, who also gives protection to the citizens. Even in the recent past, even Sanatana Goswami gave respect to the Nawab Hussain Shah as Naradeva, although the Nawab was a Mohammedan. A king or a governmental head must therefore be so competent to rule over the state that the citizens will worship him as a god in human form. That is the perfectional stage for the head of any government or state. So that's what is mentioned here. A king or a governmental head must be so competent to rule over the state that citizens will worship him as god in human form. So we see our leader, our prime minister, who is a governmental head. When the way the actions he does, or the way his gestures show when he's interacting with new leaders, giving Bhagavad Gita as a gift to each and every leader whenever he meets in a new country or a new leader. So that's what is being talked about in this shloka. So like that, all the shlokas, when the king travels all over the world, other kings as well as the demigods will offer him all kinds of presentations. Their queens also will consider him the original king, who carries in his hands the emblem of club disc and will sing of his fames, for he will be reputable as supreme personality of Godhead. And similarly, the king, the prosecutor, protector of the citizens, is an extraordinary king and is equal to the Prajapati demigods. For the living facility for all citizens, he will milk the earth, which is like a cow. Not only that, but he will level the surface of the earth with the pointed ends of his bow, breaking all the hills exactly as King Indra, the heavenly king, breaks mountains with his powerful thunderbolt. And when the lion travels in the forest with its tail turned upward, all menial animals hide themselves. Similarly, when King Prithu will travel over his kingdom and vibrate the string of his bow, which is made of the horns of goats and bulls, and is irresistible in battle, all demoniac rogues and thieves will hide themselves in all directions. At the source of river Saraswati, this king will perform 100 sacrifices known as Aswamedha. In the course of last sacrifice, the heavenly king Indra will steal the sacrificial horse, afraid of his post. We know the pastime. So the king Prithu will meet Sanat Kumara, one of the 4 Kumaras in the garden of his palace compound. The king will worship him with devotion, and he will be fortunate to receive instructions by which one can enjoy the transcendental bliss. In this way, when the chivalrous activities of King Prithu come to be known to the people in general, King Prithu will always hear about himself in his uniquely powerful activities. And last, no one will be able to disobey the order of Prithu Maharaj. After conquering the world, he will completely eradicate the threefold miseries of the citizens. Then he will be recognized all over the world. At that time, both the Suras and Asuras will undoubtedly glorify his magnanimous activities. So it's usual, we need to understand. So unless the rogues and thieves, even in the current society also, there are some kings whose names end with Singh. Rana Pratap Singh. Like that, there are so many kings ending with the title Singh. So they are compared, the king is compared with lion. So that's what is seen, and that's what is observed. And if one is able to eradicate completely the threefold miseries of the citizens, he should aspire to rule the world. One should not aspire to rule for any political or diplomatic consideration, which is contrary to the current trend going on. Okay, so with this we end the glories of King Prithu, which are being glorified by the reciters, the bards, and even the women present there also glorify the King Prithu Maharaj, who are predicting his activities which are going to happen in future, which are even being told by the sages. So as per the sages' instruction, everyone glorifies King Prithu in advance. Sometimes we also glorify, right? Like when a new CEO is coming, we glorify CEO saying that he has done this thing, that thing in the past. So we are expecting he's going to do the same kind of good activities as a head of the company. So we glorify, but eventually we can't compare the glorification of CEO or any personality in this material world with King Prithu Maharaj, because he's none other than Supreme Personality of Godhead's expansion himself. So we need to understand that. So with this, we end this chapter. So next chapter, probably, I think Santosh Aditya Prabhu might be taking this session tomorrow on Maharaja Prudu's becoming angry at the earth and why he is becoming angry, and all would be discussed in the next chapter by Santosh Aditya Prabhu. And with this, we end this nice chapter on King Prithu, glorification. Thank you very much. Let me know if anyone has any questions, any doubts. If I can answer, I will try to do. Or any reflections. Okay, I think there are no questions, but I was having some question. If someone can answer, I was just thinking. I forgot the question. Anyway, so we are ending the session here. So thank you, Shilpa Mataji, Yahan Prabhu, for giving the opportunity for taking up this session and engaging us in this service. Thank you very much. With this, we can close the session.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, thank you very much for preparing so well and sharing this with us. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mataji. Thank you.
Thank you, Mahesh Prabhu. Thank you for sharing that personal note, Prabhu. That shows us how pathetic human life can be.
Yeah. Right.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Thank you, Ram Reddy. Thank you.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Dandas Pranam.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji. Mahesh Prabhu.
Thank you very much for wonderful.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Thank you.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Thank you, Prabhuji.